हमको पता है कि cost pressures change हो गए हैं, right? Pricing, the cost structures have gone down. There's obviously a movement towards work from home, which is reducing cost. There's also the fact that rents will go under renegotiation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even employees will come from work from their home, their pricing will, the costing will be much different. They'll be also happier, right? Because they don't no longer have to come to a, let's say, city like Mumbai,
Yeah.
give sort of pay rent like a 30,000-40,000 and stay some in remote corner, travel all the time. So there's a definite amount of reduction in cost. What do you sense out of it, saying that what kind of business opportunity can be created out of it? And I'm not about hurting people, but I'm saying value which can be created, which will again go flow back into the economy.
Yeah, so I think this is a lesson I think we have forcibly undergone, right? All of us, where we didn't elect to work from home, but I think it is the right set of outcomes for us, right? Not every job can be a work from home job, but there is a very large percentage of jobs that are work from home jobs, right? If you look at extremely polluted and extremely kind of congested cities like Mumbai, like Bangalore, if you look at the employment in those cities, a lot of those jobs can be done remotely, right? These people don't have to be in Mumbai city. Actually, they're not even in Mumbai city, right? They're in Virar. They're coming from Kalyan. They're coming 2.5 hours, commuting one way, tired, worn out, coming into the job. Abhi the monsoon ka to bati mat karo, like that'll be another obstacle course on top of like everything that's hard already. And then they repeat that every day, right? 2 hours each way. I have people who used to come to our office 1.5 hours, and I'm like, man, you're a data scientist. You're coming 1.5 hours on a bus and a train and a switch and a that, and then uske baad, yaar karoge kya? Like you're already, you're already worn out. And then, you have to go through this whole day of work, and there's of course a lot of work pressure, and then you kind of have to head back and then repeat, right? So, and I think that needs to be questioned. I think while no one really loves this work from home lockdown construct, it is actually there is a silver lining to this. I think a lot of us as CEOs, as management, have realized that we don't need all our staff in the office to be able to do the best work that they do. Right? As PayU Credit, I want us to be the best place for the best people to do their best job. And that best place is PayU Credit. It's not our offices within PayU Credit, right? So I think going back out of this lockdown, it's my view that we will encourage people to the extent possible to work from home, to work remotely from whichever cities they're from or whichever towns they're from, as long as they have decent internet connectivity and they can do their job, all good. We've also learned the hard way how to collaborate. We can definitely communicate on these video calls. We've also slowly starting to learn how to collaborate, how to kind of innovate. That's of course a lot easier when you and I are in the same room on a whiteboard, and you and I have done this several times where we've kind of taken a pen and drawn stuff on the board. That gets a lot harder. But I'm hoping some of these tools will improve. I'm hoping some of our efficiency in conversations will improve. We as a group are starting to write a lot, right? Before we used to kind of meet, 6 of us used to meet, and then we said, let's discuss, right? But now there's a pre-read. There's discipline around asking questions up front, coming into a meeting with a very organized set of thoughts, so that then you can build on people's conversation. So to say that, it's hard to innovate, hard to collaborate on a video screen is a bit of a cop-out. That just means we have not been disciplined. It was hard for us too, but I think slowly, we are getting a lot better. So to answer your question, yes, on terms of cost, I think every rupee, every dollar saved in businesses by not having big gigantic offices, by not forcing people to work from Mumbai, not paying the Mumbai surcharge in terms of for the higher cost of living, by reducing our costs systematically and creating employee kind of happiness in the process. If we can actually then save money, pass it back to our end consumers, then I think as an ecosystem, we're just getting that much better, right? Today, if you look at our the notion of processing fees and the notion of higher interest rates, I'm just talking about the lending business. It's all a function of generating more revenue from the end consumer in order to kind of pay off a lot of these costs. Like I think the Lower Parel office is not required. The the employee kind of 10% extra because they live in Mumbai or the vicinity of Mumbai is not required. So I think all those cost savings add up to billions of dollars, and I think that can be passed back into the ecosystem. And actually, frankly, I think our cities are not set up this way, right? This is a perfect time for good urban planning. I think if the tier 2 cities can emerge as better hubs for people with the right level of connectivity, then I think this is a good time for us to embrace that. I for one feel like Mumbai with the limited traffic on the roads is at equilibrium right now, finally.
No, I agree. In fact, I was talking to my wife yesterday that maybe we should move to Khopoli or some remote corner. And as long as there is a network connectivity out there, and I think we should be okay. And maybe there can be a mall, maybe 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers away, we can go there. And that's about it. I think that's the life we are looking at ease, because we can work whenever we want.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think what we have realized, one of the things is that when we work from remote, I've never seen people coming late to the sessions most of the time. I think unless and until they had a previous session running late. Mota, no, not really. And people are also smiling. I mean, we have a 9:30 call every day, and 9:30 call starts exactly at 9:30. We've not had a session where people come late. So I think we believe that 30 to 40% of cost will go down. And maybe when you're talking about remote tier 2 cities, I'm looking at not tier 2. I think why not tier 6 place, a village which has network, right? That's all we need now. And maybe he will also do something better there as well.
So we have people who are in remote parts of, outside of Patna. We have people who are in small villages in Gujarat. And they are equally productive as the people who are sitting in Bangalore city or sitting in Mumbai. And it's only because I think the country's mobile internet infrastructure has gone through an overhaul over the last 5 years, right? Imagine if we did not have all the geo innovation that has been plowed into, literally plowed into our undergrounds, right? All the people benefiting from the fiber cables, all the people. So I think in some ways, I think we all have to thank our friends at Jio for making this happen. Because I don't think the old world would have allowed for productivity in the same way.
I agree. And then traffic is of now different kind now, completely different. We talk about traffic jam, we talk about network getting off. That's more or less what we say. So coming back to a different point, right? We see now that banks are not able to operate as much because they are primarily focused on physical interaction. Maybe most of the NBFs are also of that kind. And now on the other side, you have fintech players who are more digital by nature. Now, there's always a difference because the branches were always up and they were generating tons of revenue, right? The profitability was always coming. There was ROI saying that the branch gives an ROI between 18 months to 24 months normally.
Yeah.
So, do you see now that this business segment has almost come to a stall? Nobody wants to go to branch, and branch guys also don't want to handle humans anymore, right? Given the current scenario. It's a huge opportunity to collaboration. Do you see now, or is it still figment of my imagination?
No, absolutely. I think, look, we were, and I'll say you were maybe a few years ahead of the curve here. We've all been pushing for a more digital financial ecosystem because one, it's more efficient, it's more accessible, it's on your own time versus during opening and shut hours, right? So I think that will become more of a reality. If you remember. Let's take a parallel that used to exist, right? Remember, we used to go to the railway station to buy a ticket, right? And then we went from that to saying, I remember as a kid, when I used to go to the railway station, my dad used to be so proud about this computerized reservation system because he would say, man, we are in Chennai. We are booking a ticket from Delhi to Agra. How amazing is that? And I was like, yeah, that's quite amazing. But for me, that was like, okay, that makes sense. Then came the world of IRCTC, right? And IRCTC is not a phenomenal website. It's a very confusing website. I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate that website. But it is a fundamental difference from the old, going to a railway station and booking your ticket, standing in line, filling out 5 reservation sheets because pehle char to nahi milega. Like the 5th one you will get, and maybe even that RAC something you'll get, and then you'll figure it out, right? So I think the time of taking 5 reservation slips and getting one through to IRCTC was a fundamental leap. And once we did that leap, we never went back to booking tickets at the railway station, right? Similarly, went from IRCTC to like a Make My Trip or some of these more fancy reservation booking systems. And then we perhaps say, okay, well, I'll pay the convenience fee and I'll do it on Make My Trip, but I don't want to go to IRCTC. I think banking will go through a similar construct. And I don't think the banks are necessarily going to kind of fall away, right? The banks will the Indian banks are phenomenal at innovating, right? When they see a threat, they move very quickly towards it. So I think the collaboration, the partnership between banks and fintechs will become more real, will be driven with a lot more purpose. In fact, we do get pinged by a lot of banks saying, hey, look, we have a lot of consumers. Can you help us lend to them digitally? Can you create an end-to-end digital experience and book them back on us? We don't have the technology prowess, the analytical skills to do that. But if you PayU Credit as a neutral, trusted party can help us lend to our own customers. These are mostly smaller banks. This is not HDFC and ICICI, of course. But they also have 1 million customers, right? Why should they, and especially now, if their branches are not going to open, and their customers are not going to be able to borrow from them in their branch, then it actually makes a lot more sense for them to adopt a slightly more digital path to kind of their own customer lending. So while I think everyone says mere paas bhi digital process hai, it is not there, right? I think at some place in the banking machinery, things break. So I think that kind of opportunity will become very much a reality now. So I think the CIOs of the banks, the CISOs of the banks will actually be a little bit more open to having others help them lend digitally. So I think that is definitely something I'm seeing. And we're not going back. I think the next generation is not going back to a physical brick and mortar bank.
I think that training is very strong. I think the training is so strong that I mean, most of us are. So I was looking at my card, the usage of card. I think it's primarily, and it's used extensively. Because everything is now digital. We have to buy any which way online. Nothing else is an option. And also, I think the other thing which is happening is that our kids are also learning to be completely online. The training is happening online. The teachers are becoming digitally sensitive. So maybe you have opportunity to lend to the teachers because they are now fully on board. They from Zoom to this to that. So any before we close, any other comment on to the founders, to anybody in the ecosystem which you think is important for people to understand?
So I'll make a personal comment on this time. I think I'm seeing there is a frenzy of activity, including activity like the one we're doing, to kind of just, not sit still, right? The frenzy of activity is like, I want to keep myself busy. I want to be productive. I want to be doing webinars, and I want to be on these panels, and I want to kind of like, I want to kind of tell my company to do things 4 different ways. I want to try out a whole bunch of stuff. I think that's perhaps not the right thing to do. I think in some ways, while, like I said, this is not a productivity contest, right? I strongly believe that we are egomaniacal creatures. This is not a productivity contest. We should kind of use this time to prioritize, and not just prioritize in our work, but prioritize across various dimensions of our life as well. And I think that would be my only advice. I think this is a phenomenal opportunity to kind of just pull the stick back a little bit and observe our own actions. I think while in some cases I'm excited to see education go online, kids spending more screen time, but I'm also wondering, is that the right thing, right? I actually am not for more screen time for kids and even for adults. I think an 8-hour workday now is equivalent to like a 15-hour workday before, because I am constantly in front of a screen, right? And my people are constantly in front of a screen. I think it's just a lot more taxing, a lot more tiring. And also we have fundamentally lost a lot of the help we used to have. So I think this is, I know this is tough times to fundraise. I know this is tough times to kind of justify valuations. This is tough time to kind of have, everyone wants to put runs, and this whole like never let a crisis go to waste, mantra, I hear it over and over again. but yeah, don't let a crisis go to waste, but don't waste yourself in the process either, right? I think it's that balance that is critical. And I think we as individuals, as entrepreneurs, as founders, as CEOs, as an even venture capitalists, pushing their companies, need to be fully aware that this is a tough time for the human race in general, human population in general. So we just need to kind of give ourselves a little break.
Maybe I'll give you a counter view. So maybe I'm the culprit on the other side, working excessively on that. And I'll tell you why maybe it is helpful for us. One, obviously, we in March when we all went through it, we also were as worried, and maybe our business segment is very different. We are in consulting, so we are not funded. And we work very closely with fintech. So some of them obviously did not progress with us and all of that. But obviously, what we also realize is that, to be honest about it, we have multiple business segments, and two of the segments have done very well. In fact, our training segment has done extremely well.
Yeah.
And which is fully online. So we've changed our direction a lot in some sense. Some of the activity we do are very long sell, and we've sort of gone slow on that, saying that we will not spend time in more proposals, because any which way people take proposals and sit on top of that. I think the biggest fun people want to have, and maybe I'm also culprit of that, is that we call our partners only till the day they get the final proposal with commercial in. And we were spending too much of time doing it, because I think I can tell you that we have submitted more proposals in March and April than we ever submitted till date. I mean, that was a frenzy, right? Everybody wanted proposals during COVID times, and were not deciding. So we have sort of got rid of some of this business. So I think hyper activity is sort of critical. I think that's how entrepreneurs survive. But I do take your point that maybe the team should not sort of go through that
burnout.
And I think we are built for that kind of approach, but not the team. So good point. And thanks Prashant for sharing all the insights. I think this session we thought will be shorter one. I think we almost take 40-45 minutes for that. So
yeah,
and I learned a lot of stuff, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.